had a career that spanned almost 70 years. He won 3 Grammy Awards, and he was described by George Harrison as the godfather of world music. His name is Ravi Shankar. Pandit Ravi Shankar, influenced by Persian music during his early years, was fundamental in forming a union between Eastern and Western music. Ravi Shankar was born on April 7, 1920 in Varanasi, India. He lived in Varanasi until the age of 10, when he accompanied his brother Uday Shankar to Paris. He spent his childhood hearing and watching his brother's dance troupe perform for Western audiences in Paris. As he later said in his life, I keenly listened to our music and observed the reaction of audiences on hearing it. This critical analysis helped me to decide what we should give to Western audiences to make them really respect and appreciate Indian music. This mix of cultures was very apparent in his work as an adult. At a music convention in 1934, Ravi Shankar met Alauddin Khan. Alauddin Khan was a Bengali instrumentalist and composer. He became Ravi's musical and spiritual mentor for many years to come. Just 1 year after taking lessons from Khan, he began giving concerts. Ravi Shankar was now known as a brilliant young musician. Around this time, he also married Annapurna Devi, Alauddin Khan's daughter, in 1941. And Shubhendra Shankar, his son, was born in 1942. At this time, he started composing ballets for the Indian People's Theatre Association. And he became the music director for All India Radio in Delhi, India. All of his compositions and work portrayed a mix of Eastern and Western cultures. Ravi Shankar started collaborations with Yehudi Menuhin, an American-born conductor and violinist with whom he would later record 3 albums. Ravi Shankar was already considered an ambassador of Indian music to America. His goal was to expose the West to Indian classical music by not only playing it, but also teaching and explaining it.
You have heard sitar before?
Yes, I have.
You know what it is made of and all that sort of thing?
No, a lot of our viewers probably wouldn't know what it is made of. Could you explain it, perhaps?
It's made out of teak wood, completely hollow inside. This portion, as you see, this round portion, is a gourd. Another smaller gourd here on the top with an opening, which serves as the sound box. There are 6 main strings for playing, 4 for melody, and 2 for rhythm or drone. And underneath there are 13 strings, which are tuned differently each time before we play on a raga, or the melody forms on which we improvise. And one thing is very interesting, that one can pull the strings and get the same note as if I'm playing the frets, like.
During this time, he also wrote a very famous score for the film The Apu Trilogy for the famous director Satyajit Ray. He performed at the Woodstock Festival as well as the Monterey Pop Festival in 1967. In 1965, George Harrison of the Beatles started learning under Ravi. He recorded on the track Norwegian Wood of the Beatles. Shankar's partnership with Harrison proved to be even more significant years later. In 1971, Bangladesh became a place of armed conflict between Indian and Muslim Pakistani forces. Along with the issues of violence, the country was devastated by ferocious flooding. Seeing the famine and hardship faced by the country's civilians, Shankar and Harrison organized the concert for Bangladesh.
I'd just like to say before we start off with the concert, to thank you all for coming here.
person with all of the enormous problems in the world, how did you happen to choose this one?
Because I was asked by a friend if I'd help, that's all.
Proceeds from the show, which is largely considered to be the first major modern charity concert, went to the aid organization UNICEF to help Bangladeshi refugees. Additionally, the album won the 1971 Grammy Award for Album of the Year. 3 years later, in 1974, at a concert in Salt Lake City, Utah, President Gerald Ford's son, Jack, had met Ravi Shankar, George Harrison, Tom Scott, and Billy Preston, and invited them to the White House. Jack hosted them for lunch and took them for a tour, including meeting the president in the Oval Office. 3 years later, his daughter Norah Jones was born, and Anushka Shankar, his other daughter, was born in 1981. He wrote an Oscar-nominated score for Gandhi, a Richard Attenborough-directed movie. Also at this time, he collaborated with Philip Glass to produce a track in 1990 called Passages. In 2003, Norah Jones won 9 Grammy Awards, and Anushka Shankar was nominated for Best World Music Album at the Grammys. Throughout his career, various critics accused Shankar of abandoning the pure form of Indian classical music. He once answered them by saying, "I have experimented with non-Indian instruments, even electronic gadgets, but all my experiences were based on Indian ragas. When people discuss tradition, they don't know what they are talking about. Over centuries, classical music has undergone addition, beautification, and improvement, but always sticking to its traditional basis. Today the difference is that the changes are faster." Ravi Shankar won many awards in his lifetime, 14 honorary degrees, 4 Grammys, and a membership to the Academy Awards and Letters. Pandit Ravi Shankar passed away in a hospital in San Diego near his home. He died at the age of 92 on December 11, 2012 in La Jolla, San Diego, California. His final performance was in Long Beach with his daughter Anushka Shankar. Just 2 months after Ravi Shankar passed away, his daughters accepted the Grammy's Lifetime Achievement Award for him.
We would like to thank the Recording Academy on behalf of our dad. We know he was very excited to be receiving this award, and we really miss him. And, he just lived and breathed music. He was always tapping out rhythms at the breakfast table and, making me do 5/7. I'm still trying to get it. But anyway, thank you so much, and we are very happy to accept the award for him.
His legacy still lives on in the artists and people that he worked with and inspired, like Ashish Khan, an eminent Indian classical musician who played sarod, an Indian classical instrument, on all of Ravi Shankar's musical productions. Ravi Shankar's legacy still lives on in many other ways, such as his opera project, which he was working on before he passed away. I interviewed David Murphy, a conductor and violinist who worked very closely with Ravi Shankar on the opera project. When asked about his experience, he said, "It was the most amazing experience to spend time with Ravi Shankar. He was a very intense, demanding musician, but at the same time, such a wonderful, warm, empathetic person that he enabled every musician he worked with to develop and perform to their maximum ability. He made me see that all music, Western, Indian, Chinese, African, wherever, it all comes from the same source, rooted in nature. As a conductor, training with him in Indian music made me aware that everything we perform, whether Indian raga or Beethoven's symphony, it all has to be created in the moment from deep inside the performer and be fresh and new every time." Ravi Shankar's goal was to help the West appreciate Indian classical music and break down cultural and musical barriers between the East and the West. By performing, teaching, and collaborating with many artists all around the world for almost 70 years, he managed to do this. Without Ravi Shankar, the musical barrier that existed between India and the West would not have been broken.
What I have been able to do was only popularize and make our music understood and appreciated in a proper manner. That has been my mission, and I feel very happy that it's almost I have completed that.
Known fondly today as the godfather of world music, Shankar is remembered for using his wealth of talent to infuse Indian culture into the world's forever growing music scene.